Yo, so today I'm going to talk about library love. The recent library discussion that's been happening in the community has really motivated me to go back and start using the library again. I haven't used it in about 4 years. I've lost my library card and I've just been more content with buying books, but to be honest, I'm not interested in buying books anymore. Last Tuesday I went to my library, my local library, so I'll give you a little recap of my library life. So I've been using the library since I can remember. Going to the library every week was a really fun outing for me and my family. One of my earliest memories of the library wasn't even really a library, it was a library on wheels. It was basically a caravan that had been gutted and the inside was just full of bookshelves of books, and this was over when we were living in England, and every week this couple would drive their van into our town and I could go get books and audio books. It wasn't even audio books, it was audio cassettes. Back then I would take the books with me on holidays, and I would never late with them, of course. I had my parents to keep me in check. When I was 7 we were living in Spain and it was very difficult for me to find books that were in English, but luckily I was going to an English school at the time that had a huge library, so again I would always get books out there and I really enjoyed that. And once we came back to Ireland I immediately got a library card and started checking books out on aliens and this and that. Between the ages of 9 and 18 I wouldn't have been able to get through school without having a library. I didn't have a computer until I was about 15, and even then I didn't have internet and I didn't even have a printer, so I was regularly going down to the library to use their computers and to print out stuff that I needed for school, to do projects, to read the encyclopedias. Libraries are a very big part of my life. There's only two kind of places in the world that I take solitude in, which is libraries and churches, because they're both places where you can go where it's quiet and no one will bug you and no one will ask you what's wrong or give us a smile or anything like that. You can just be left alone with your thoughts, and I love it. One of the reasons why I stopped going to my library was because they stopped getting new releases and because the funding was cut. The library became quite messy. The categories were all wrong. You could never really find anything you wanted, and it was quite upsetting for someone for when it used to be so good to see it kind of fall to the wayside. But little did I know it was because they were planning on building a new library in my town that they kind of stopped caring about the old one, and this year they finally opened the new one and it's huge. It costs 38 million euro. 38 million euro can buy you a lot of books, and when I went down there on Tuesday I was just blown away by the sheer size of it all. So I went in to the service desk and asked the librarian there, hi, I'm a member of this library but I've lost my library card, I need a new one, can you help me? And she took me over to another area and gave me a new card and checked that all my details were the same. It told me that it had been 4 years since I've been to the library, and because it was my first time there in that library, she gave me a tour. So as we were walking around she was telling me the laws of the land, like I can get a book out for 21 days, I can renew it up to 15 times, I should never have a book late because of that, I can renew it online, I can do everything online basically. The first thing that struck me about it was that it's set up like a bookshop. If you didn't know any better you wouldn't think it was a bookshop, the way everything is categorized and things. Their fiction section is the biggest fiction section I've ever seen in my life. I was just like, ah, when I saw it. They have tons of audiobooks, CDs, DVDs, video games. They've got a huge biography section. They've got a music section. They've got everything. They've got absolutely everything. They have old newspapers and magazines that you can go through, and just absolutely everything. So I was running around after the librarian kind of let me go on my way. She said that I could ask her any questions if I needed anything, just to come to her and she'd help me out. As I was running around I had some books under my arm and I ran into her again. She said, oh, I can see you're getting along grand. I was like, yeah, I'm getting used to it. One of the things is that you don't have to deal with anyone anymore in my library. They don't stamp books. It's all self-service. So you scan out, you scan in, which is grand for me because I don't like dealing with people. But it's also good because I can get out weirder books and not be judged for it. So I got 4 books from the library the other day. I'll show you what they are now. I got Marilyn Manson's The The Long Hard Road Out of Hell. Haven't read this one yet. This is the only one I haven't read yet. I got Woman in the Making by Rory O'Neill, aka Panty Bliss, who's a really famous drag queen over here. And I got Saga Volume 1 and Volume 2. I'm going to tell you how much these books cost in Eason's. I'm using Eason's as the example because I feel like it's the most popular bookstore in Ireland. Woman in the Making is €22.10. Saga Volume 1 and 2 are both €16.80 each. And The Long Hard Road Out of Hell, even though it is an old book, it's still like under the price of a new release. It's €21.50. So the total of that comes to €72.20. I don't have €72.20 to spend on 4 books. I can't. At this moment in time, I can't support these bookstores. The prices are just through the roof. I was in Eason's the other day looking at Kim Gordon's new book, and it was priced at $18.99, and the sticker had the audacity to say great value, and it's not great value. I understand if people want to support authors, but the thing is, you don't have to support all the authors. You don't have to buy all the books. You know, if your favorite author comes out with a new book, yeah, totally buy it, but you don't have to, because the thing is, BookTube promotes a really unhealthy buying habit. The average reader does not buy 10, 20, 30 books a month, you know, it's not happening. I'm someone who doesn't reread books, so it's absolutely pointless on me spending money on something that I'm just going to read once. And you know, I don't feel the need to own every book I read. I regularly sort through my bookshelf and get rid of stuff that I didn't like. If you want to buy books instead of go to the library, that's totally okay. If you want to go to the library instead of buy books, that's totally fine. You're still all shit. None of you are better than anyone else. You know, we could stop fighting about that. Of like, you know, well, you're a bad reader for not going to the library, or you're a bad reader for not supporting bookstores and not supporting authors. It's just like, it's ridiculous to be fighting about this, lads. When I was at the library, I was looking out for any bad things that I've heard people say in the recent discussion videos. Like in Ariel Bassett's video, she said that libraries are quite creepy and the cleanliness of books. The thing is about the cleanliness is that if you get a book from the library, you can always take it home and wipe some Dettol on it if it's a bit greasy, you know what I'm saying? But like, there's no need. Most of the time when people say they don't go to the library because they're a germaphobe, they're actually saying, I don't go to the library because I'm a snob. Like, that's it. It's not really a germaphobe thing. They just look down on used books and things like that, you know? I'm not saying that that's what Ariel and Lee were talking about, but I'm saying sometimes that can happen, that's what they're actually saying. And let me tell you, there's just as many perverts in bookshops as there are in libraries. I worked in a bookshop briefly, and every day at around 11 o'clock this old man would come in. I mean old, like he was in his 80s, and he would go to where the sex books were, you know, all the sex positions, Kama Sutra, blah blah blah, and he would pull down one specific book that had real people acting out the sex positions. Basically, to him, it was softcore porn, and he would be there for like an hour, leafing through this book, licking his thumb and looking through the book and looking at all these naked girls and things like that, and like, sitting there with a huge erection. Like, it wasn't even, like, you could see it so clearly. And eventually we got our boss to throw him out, but like, I'm just telling you, bookshops aren't as clean as you think they are. I'm going back to the library tomorrow to return 3 of the 4 books that I got. I'm waiting for them to get Buffy the Vampire Slayer season 1 back in. But yeah, but back to bookstores. The thing is, I don't particularly feel bad about not buying books and not supporting bookstores, because the thing is, these bookstores, most of the bookstores in Ireland are box stores. Stores that ran independent bookstores out of business. I understand that they have to pay rent, they have to pay rates, and I know that how much it costs to make a book, but it's just ridiculous. It's overpricing, and we're still in a recession, so I can't justify going out and spending that much money on books. The other thing too I want to say is that when I was coming home from the library, I passed 2 bookstores, big bookstores, both of them dead, because everyone was down at the library. The library was absolutely packed with people. Everyone was on the computers. It had at least 50 computers. There was tons of school children there getting their books out, people of all ages, and it was just really interesting and good to see, and it was a real sense of community, you know. So just because your library is crappy doesn't mean all libraries are crappy. I mentioned the scan out, scan in sort of thing, so there's no stamps anymore in the books. You don't get that anymore. You just scan the back of the book on this scanner machine device, and it actually even prints out a receipt for you, and it will tell you the date that you need to have everything back by, and if you have anything out already, if you owe any money. And like when it says customer and then it says my name, but it also has a miss in front of my name, and I was like, this is some classy ass shit. I'm really impressed. Like I said, I'm blown away. I'm ecstatic that this discussion reminded me of like, go to your library. I'll be upping my reading game, because I forgot when I'm under pressure to read something, I actually read much faster. And I won't be doing library hauls or anything like that, but if you want to know what I'm reading, like, add me on Goodreads, or you can just look at my Goodreads or my Twitter, because I'll be posting pictures of my library hauls on my Twitter. And yeah, so that's all I really have to say today. Just, you know, just chill out, everyone, just chill out. Yeah, when I was walking around my library, I was looking out for any of the dodgy things that people have been saying about libraries. There was no suspect characters or anything like that. I was quite disappointed to find that there was no one in a far off corner pleasuring themselves, but you know, what can you do? My library's pretty good and squeaky clean and stuff, so little disappointed, but what can you say? There's no reason to get angry about things and to drag people on Twitter. We're all adults here. We all have opinions. We should all learn to get along with each other and respect each other's opinions. So that's what I'm going to say on that. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will talk to you soon. Goodbye.